The prologue unfolds as two fellow students approach Nagumo, jolting him from his slumber by forcefully striking his desk. Among the duo is Humiliated, known for consistently targeting Nagumo with his bullying antics within the school. They taunt Nagumo for his seemingly perpetual state of drowsiness, attributing it to his habit of staying up late. Unperturbed by their mocking, Cory steps forward and takes his seat beside Nagumo. With a gentle demeanor, she offers a subtle reminder to him about the importance of punctuality. Cory, celebrated throughout the school as one of the twin embodiments of beauty, holds an enigmatic closeness to Nagumo that baffles even Nagumo himself. Despite a sense of disliking by her friends who are pretty famous in the school, she still insists to be with Nagumo. Moments later, teacher Eiko enters the class and instructs the students to take their chairs. However, the entire class trembles in panic when a white light emits from the floor, and the next moment, the class finds itself transported to an entirely different world as the gods' chosen heroes. They have been summoned in this world by the god Ahet to fight against the demons and save the humanity breathing on the verge of extinction. Captain Meld briefs them about the status plate and the classes. Apparently, combat class is the most esteemed class in this world. Only 10 out of 10,000 are gifted with this class. Cory earns herself the healing class, another rare class. Poor Nagumo's life does not change in this world as well. He is gifted with a pretty plain synergist class. Humiliated laughs at him for his poor ranking in this world. As the story progresses, we delve deeper to uncover whether Nagumo's life will undergo any transformative changes in this unfamiliar realm, or if he will persist in facing similar challenges. The anime begins with a guy named Hajime Nagumo awakening in a dangerous world called the Great Orcus Labyrinth, filled with monsters. Nagumo finds himself pondering his perilous circumstance and the looming specter of death, all while he endeavors to locate and escape. Despite his contemplative efforts, enlightenment regarding his predicament remains elusive. Amid this uncertainty, his attention is ensnared by a nearby bunny. The seemingly innocuous creature, however, unveils its true nature as a monstrous entity. To Nagumo's astonishment, the bunny effortlessly dispatches two other monsters through its potent barrage of attacks. Upon devouring two monsters, the bunny now turns to Nagumo. However, their encounter is interrupted when a larger predator arrives and kills the bunny, devouring it. Threatened to his core, Nagumo tries to escape, but the bear notices his movement and comes after Nagumo. Nagumo's vehement attempts to leave behind the bear fail when he sustains an army loss from the bear's attack. Despite losing the arm, Hajime recognizes that he has to drive off the bear to survive. Therefore, he uses the transmutation powers on repeat, which allows him to reshape objects. With a sense of relief, the bear abandons the idea of pursuing Nagumo, who currently dwells in a small cave, and heads back. Stricken to his very core, Nagumo collapses within the cavern. After a while, he reopens his eyes and discovers himself reclining beside a sacred stone containing holy water. This he employs to mend his wounds and dispel curses. Nagumo recollects from his days in the library that these sacred mythical stones formed deep within mountains due to the accumulation of mana. Nagumo was notably unremarkable compared to his peers in terms of abilities. Thus, his time at the academy remains primarily saturated with memories of scorn, ridicule, and the like. Nagumo then recalls the skills he learned from the royal library of his high school and realizes that he is far weaker compared to his classmates in terms of combat ability. As Nagumo delves deeper into the labyrinth, he experiences flashbacks revealing how he ended up in this predicament. Counting 70 days from today, Nagumo and his companions initially ventured into the treacherous expanse of the Great Orcus Labyrinth. Amidst their collective endeavor, a classmate by the name of Emanagawa comes to Nagumo's aid when he finds himself struggling against a menacing monster. Emma's intervention underscores the necessity for Nagumo to intensify his efforts as they navigate the labyrinthine terrain. Shirisaki, another member of the group, checks on Nagumo's well-being, and they press onward in their quest. Before long, they chance upon a glance crystal, a renowned gemstone within the kingdom's jewelry lore. Regrettably, the seemingly valuable find proves to be a treacherous trap. Upon contact, the crystal transports them into a perilous space infested with monsters. Confronted by imminent danger, the combined efforts of Cory, Captain Meld, Shizuku, and the other participants are marshaled to confront the demonic horde. Yet their opposition proves futile against the malevolent powers of the creatures. The group seeks solace in a divine protection spell for defense, but even this safeguard eventually falters. In this dire circumstance, Nagumo employs his transmutation ability to repel the encroaching monsters, allowing his classmates to advance across a bridge. However, when Nagumo turns back intending to depart the abyss alongside his companions, an unexpected turn of events transpires. Nagumo becomes the target of a direct attack from one of his teammates. Stricken by this assault, he plummets from the bridge's edge. The structure succumbs to the relentless onslaught of the monsters and crumbles, resulting in Nagumo's descent into the labyrinth's unfathomable depths. On the brink of death and feeling betrayed by his classmates, Nagumo questions why he chose to train in the Great Orcus Labyrinth. Determined to survive, he resorts to eating monsters for sustenance and manages to trap two wolf monsters. As he consumes their flesh, he experiences a peculiar sensation from the wolf's blood, but successfully survives. Examining his status plate, he discovers that his level has increased and gains additional skills related to lightning and wolf attributes. Nagumo creates a revolver-like weapon named Donner using his transmutation skills along with crafting and blasting bullets from different stones. With his newly acquired abilities, he defeats a bunny monster, further enhancing his skills. Eventually, he faces off against the bear once again to settle their scores from the previous encounter. Nagumo challenges the bear and easily avoids his attacks. Fuming in rage, the bear unsheathes a tally of attacks on Nagumo, but he is well prepared for the combat. Nagumo's precision is evident as he delivers accurate bullet shots to the bear. Initially, his aim shatters the creature's arm, and swiftly thereafter, he delivers a headshot, decisively ending the confrontation. This successful encounter marks Nagumo's triumph in the rematch. On level 17, Nagumo drinks water from the mythical stone and wonders how long this journey will keep going. These levels of the dungeon are darker than usual, and Nagumo struggles to see anything to hold onto. His journey is further complicated when Nagumo faces a monstrous lizard. Battling against a monster in the dark, Nagumo keeps hold of his senses. He masterly uses the lightning bombs against the lizard and eliminates him with some precise Donner shots. From one level to another, Nagumo becomes determined to eliminate various monsters in his path up to level 44. While his teammates explain the entire situation to the king of the kingdom, they describe how they unintentionally entered a trap of Glan's stone on the 20th stage of the Great Orcus Labyrinth, which teleported them to the unprecedented 65th level, the deepest level where humans have ever been, where they encountered the fearsome behemoth. The king reminds them that their presence in this world was part of an agreement. The news of losing God's chosen hero should be concealed here, and they must not talk to anyone about the incident. Meanwhile, Nagumo's teammate named Shizuku takes care of her Kaori. Meanwhile, Kori, who collapsed inside the labyrinth, recalls the moments from the unfortunate incident where Nagumo was struck by a spell when he was attempting to join them on the safe return to the kingdom and fell in the depths of the dungeon. When Koki opposed their captain Mel's decision, Shizuku sided with her captain, deeming his actions necessary and rightly justified. On the other hand, caught in the whirlwind of thoughts, Shizuku sets herself up for practice on the lawn and recalls her memories from their arrival in this world. The heroes were summoned by the god of worship to combat the demons and their monster allies with their incredible powers. Pop Ishtar briefed them about the races of this world: humans, demons, and beastmen. For decades, humans have been on fighting for their survival against the demons. With demons controlling the monsters, humans have been greatly damaged in the war, and even their existence is on the brink of collapse in this world. When they were choosing this dangerous path, their teacher from Earth, while reminiscing, Shizuku starts suspecting Hayama, another teammate, who has been always at odds with Nagumo. She speculates that Hayama might be acting out of jealousy, but she pushes aside the thought for the time being and rushes inside, where Kori wakes up from her unconscious state after 5 days, having lost sight of Nagumo. Upon regaining her senses, Kori begins inquiring about Nagumo. Shizuku initially tries to divert her questions, but Kori's persistence impels her to break the silence. Hearing about the unfortunate loss of Nagumo, Kori falls on the floor and begs Shizuku to take her back to the dungeon. On the flip side, Nagumo continues his exploration in the dungeon without the slightest idea of the level he is fighting at, though he has already come down 50 levels from where he started. Nagumo is intrigued by the Pandora box and the closed doors in the depths. Wondering what might be hiding inside, Nagumo decides to open the gates with his transmutation powers, but he fails badly. His attempt to open the door awakens to huge monsters guarding the door. The monster lash at Nagumo, but he has evolved into a far stronger combat. Nagumo eliminates the monsters with his Donner shots and learns that the monsters have been hiding the key to the door inside their body. Behind the door, he discovers a girl who has been sealed within a stone. Nagumo had been expecting help in his expedition, but he is disappointed to rather find a girl incarcerated in this cubicle stone. When he turns back to leave, the girl pleads with him to help her. She goes on to reveal that she has been betrayed by her people. The girl reveals that she belongs to a long line of vampires and was sealed away by her uncle and the ministers due to her immortality and rapid healing powers. Utilizing his abilities, Nagumo successfully breaks the stone as he begins to step out in her natural skin. While Nagumo catches his breath after a strenuous session of immense power, the girl thanks Nagumo. The girl insists Nagumo name her. Nagumo names her Yu, after the moon and the earth, and the girl seems to like her new name. Their interaction is disrupted when Nagumo sustains severe injuries from the daggers shot at his back. Sensing a far stronger enemy in front, Nagumo hands over his coat to Yu and asks her to get on his back as he strides forward to face the scorpion monster. Despite his injuries, Nagumo unleashes multiple attacks in an attempt to defeat the monster, but his efforts prove futile. Nagumo shoots bullets at several parts of the body, however the metallic scorpion seems prone to the bullets. Nagumo jumps on his head to shoot him, but it again proves futile. As the battle intensifies, Nagumo replicates the monster's magic skill and creates a shield of stones, while Yu sucks on his blood to recover her energy. Upon recovering her abilities, Yu uses Yu's Azure Blaze ability to launch a powerful attack on the monster. The attack lands severe damage to the monster, but it does not seem enough to take him down. Nagumo asks her to unleash a similar attack again. Taking advantage of the distraction, Nagumo successfully shoots the monster's head with Donner, ultimately killing it. As their battle concludes, you cannot help herself asking why Nagumo did not flee for his life and put himself in the line of danger. Nagumo expresses that he rather prefers to face challenges. Running away is not his kind anymore. After the battle, Yu explains her unique nature of regeneration, revealing that all the labyrinths are created by Mavericks. Mavericks is the strongest creature in this world. They turned rogue against the gods and built labyrinths to destroy their world. It is believed that the Mavericks are still residing at the center of a labyrinth. Finding the Maverick could potentially lead them to the surface. Motivated by this knowledge, Nagumo crafts another rifle named Shlijum, and the duo continues their journey in search of the labyrinth's center. As they progress, Yu opens up a tally of questions for Nagumo to answer. Nagumo shares that he belongs to Earth, a world far different from theirs. He and his friends were summoned by the god Et to fight against the demons. Unlike his friends, Nagumo is not a strong combat. He is a synergist by nature, and he reflects on his uselessness among his classmates. Nagumo goes on to describe that he was also betrayed by his friends and he lost the arm in the encounter against a monster. Now, he no longer cares about them and focuses solely on improving himself. Nagumo explains that he does not bear any resentment for his friends too. Hearing about his tale of suffering and pain, Yu bursts into tears. She maintains that Nagumo's tale is not a lot different from her. She expresses that she does not have a home or place anymore. Nagumo decides to bring Yu along with him on his quest to return home. During their travels, they encounter a group of dinosaurs with flowers on their heads. Nagumo believes the dinosaurs are being controlled by the flowers on their heads, and if they want to get rid of hordes of monsters coming at them, they will have to find the mastermind. Running for their lives against the dinos, they eventually find themselves in a cave surrounded by green crystals. Nagumo senses that the underlying monster behind the control lies in this very cave. Suddenly, a flower grows on Yu's head, meaning that she is also possessed like the dinosaurs. Yu launches multiple attacks on Nagumo, however, Nagumo's reflexes help him defend himself. While defending himself against Yu's attacks, Nagumo finds the monster smirking at him behind Yu. Yu asks Nagumo to shoot at the monster without caring about her, and Nagumo does the same. The bullet shot pierces through the flower and strikes the monster, and Nagumo manages to defeat yet another monster. Yu turns towards him, fuming in rage for being so inconsiderate about her, while shooting the monster and ended up burning her sculpture. Later in the night, while Nagumo boasts on the monster meat, Yu strides closer to him, licking her lips. Yu removes her clothes and stands before Nagumo in her nature attire. She invites Nagumo to let her love his body. The following day, they take the stairs down to the final levels of the labyrinth. Yu realizes that Hajime is being very careful about his approach in this part of the journey. Soon they reach a door, and a spark of hope smirks in Nagumo's eyes, sensing that behind this door can be their key to exit. Unfazed by their challenges, Nagumo and Yu press on with their expedition, ultimately attaining the 100th floor of the labyrinth. Descending further into the abyss, they are met with a vast, eerie expanse adorned with glass structures and pervasive illumination. Both Yu and Nagumo find themselves entranced by the spectacle of this remarkable location. However, their wonderment is short-lived as the very floor beneath them begins to tremble, heralding the imminent arrival of the ultimate adversary. A crimson radiance emanates from the ground, unveiling the imposing form of a six-faced dragon monster before them. The dragons launch their attacks, from fire flares to shooting daggers, but Nagumo and Yu skillfully defend themselves in a powerful counterattack. Nagumo fires multiple shots with his Donner, while Yu utilizes glacial sleets to inflict heavy injuries on the dragons. However, the dragons quickly heal themselves with the assistance of a healing dragon. Nagumo realizes that all of the 6 dragons have their separate roles like defending, deceiving, healing, and attacking, therefore he must have a strategy to fight them. Nagumo and Yu decide to target the healing dragon first, launching a barrage of attacks. However, the defending dragon takes all the damage onto itself, acting as a perfect balance between attacker, defender, and healer. Suddenly, the dragon manipulates Yu's mind, attempting to harm her. Dragon reminds her of the times where she was incarcerated and tempts her into a site where Nagumo leaves her completely captivated by the dragon. Yu frets and breaks into tears. This is when Nagumo realizes that Yu is standing spell-bonded before a monster who is about to devour her. He rushes to her rescue, saving her from the illusion. With tears glistening in her eyes, Yu clings tightly to Nagumo. He responds by conjuring a protective shield and drawing closer to her. In a surprising move, he gently presses his lips against hers. This unexpected gesture washes over Yu with a profound sense of solace, igniting a newfound wellspring of confidence within her for the impending battle against the monstrous foe. Nagumo reaffirms their commitment, assuring Yu that they will overcome the challenge together and ultimately secure their safe return home. The embracement of love takes Yu to the absolute peak of her powers. She lashes at the monster and unsheathes a barrage of solid blows with her spells. Nagumo decides to grab his rifle and intensify his attacks. The dragon tries the manipulation trick on Nagumo, but he is psychologically far stronger than Yu and easily snaps out of the spell. Yu uses her Heavenly Blade spells and wipes out a few of the dragon heads, but the battle does not end here. There's far more left for them to face. The Guardian of the Depths intensifies its onslaught, directing increasingly fierce attacks at them. The dragon employs its fiery lightning breath against the cornered Yu. However, Nagumo's quick reflexes prompt him to step into the line of fire, shielding Yu from harm. His selfless act takes a toll on him, causing him to collapse in front of her, racked by injuries. Amid the chaos, driven by desperation and determination, Yu seizes her weapon and aims at the formidable monster. Regrettably, her efforts yield little significant impact. In contrast, the relentless dragon continues to assail them, showing no signs of relenting. The Guardian of the Depths unleashes a barrage of searing daggers resembling a hailstorm. As the battle wears on, it becomes increasingly apparent that victory is slipping from their grasp. In a dire turn of events, Yu finds herself lying before the relentless monster, seemingly ready to accept her fate. Yet to her astonishment, she awakens in Nagumo's grasp. Nagumo has regained his faculties, and they synchronize their attacks with newfound efficiency. Their combined efforts ensnare the monster, culminating in their triumphant victory. With the battle concluded, Nagumo's strength wanes, and he collapses into Yu's arms. As if in response to their victory, the door before them opens, revealing the path to the heart of the Maverick's lair. On the flip side, Eiko opposes Pope Ishtar's choice to send the students back to the dungeon. She believes the students are yet to overcome the loss of their friend, and sending them to quest in this condition is nothing short of risking their lives. Pope responds that only those who are willing will go on the quest. Fuming in rage, Eiko adjourns the deliberation and returns to her room, affirming that she will do whatever is in her power to save the students. The following morning, Nagumo wakes up from his sleep, but he's shocked to find himself lying on the bed. He wonders how come they get the bed in the wilderness. However, to his surprise, Yu lies beside him, completely naked. Nagumo panics and immediately gets up. He quickly grabs the clothes and inquires Yu about the place. Yu responds that they are in the Maverick's lair. She took him to this place when Nagumo collapsed after the fight. She goes on to reveal that the dress he is wearing belongs to the Maverick. This leads Nagumo to an assertion that Maverick will rather be a human. On their way outside the room, Nagumo shocks to find a mansion. It's the least expected sight in the dungeon. However, he enters the mansion with Yu. While searching the rooms, they come across one with a significant sign on the floor, accompanied by a skeletal corpse sitting on a chair. As Nagumo steps to the side, he witnesses the soul of a man named Oscar Orcas emerging from the skeleton. Oscar reveals that he is the creator of the labyrinth and commends Nagumo for surviving the trials and reaching this point. He informs Nagumo that the message he is delivering is pre-recorded. Meanwhile, Kore, Shizuku, and the rest of their teammates are engaged in a rematch against the behemoth monster on the 65th floor, but the students are adamant to face the monster and not running this time. Koki strides forth, assuming the mantle of leading the initial assault against the formidable monster. Swiftly, he takes command of the group, orchestrating their coordinated efforts in the confrontation with the behemoth. Assigning specific roles to each member, he marshals their collective strength for the impending struggle. Henson confronts the creature head-on, drawing its attention and creating an opening for his comrades to strike from various angles. Shizuku, wielding her sword with the utmost force, delivers a powerful blow that cleaves through one of the monster's horns. Yet despite this valiant effort, the impact falls short of yielding a significant advantage against the already formidable opponent. As the tide of battle appears to shift in favor of the behemoth, Suzu reacts promptly, summoning her shield to fend off the creature's assaults. Supported by Kore's empowering spell, the duo manages to inflict their first series of impactful strikes on the monstrous adversary. Capitalizing on this momentum, Koki seizes the opportunity. Springing onto the creature, he delivers a decisive blow that concludes the battle in their favor. On the other side, Oscar Orcas bestows his power upon Nagumo and advises him not to use it for evil purposes. Nagumo experiences an ultimate sensation as if the history of the world is being engraved on his mind. The magical powers come with the revelation that the Mavericks were not wrong. They were the liberators. Meanwhile, the legends about the Mavericks are all based on the wrong assertions. Both Yu and Nagumo bury Oscar's remains, only keeping the ring, which unlocks several places for Nagumo. Oscar has taught him the creation magic, and Nagumo can now create anything to his pleasure with this ability. Together, they learn different skills, and Nagumo crafts various weapons. Nagumo too ingests monster meat, harnessing its potential to elevate his capabilities. Temporarily putting aside the notion of raiding other labyrinths, he opts to concentrate on acquainting himself with the forthcoming obstacles. Months of rigorous training culminate in Nagumo's sense of preparedness to confront the imminent challenges. Addressing Yu, he cautions her about the perilous road they have chosen, highlighting the lurking threats of death that lie ahead. He emphasizes that their actions might incite opposition from not only the church and kingdom, but even the gods themselves. Despite this grim forecast, Yu remains steadfast in her determination. Her destiny is now intertwined with Nagumo's, and she stands resolute in her choice. While she anxiously waits, a menacing monster approaches her, triggering her fear for her life. She bolts away in search of help, desperately hoping for assistance. Just in the nick of time, Hajime and Yu arrive on the scene, causing the monster to hastily retreat. Relief washes over Shia as she sees her allies. However, Hajime and Yu seemingly disregard her and continue walking away. The tense atmosphere shifts when the monster unexpectedly reappears before Hajime. Swiftly reacting, Hajime draws his gun and with astonishing precision takes down the creature with just 2 well-aimed shots. She initiates her introduction to Hajime and Yu, identifying herself as the eldest daughter of the Humiliated beast tribe. She quickly launches into a plea for their assistance, imploring them to help her family. Though initially hesitant, Hajime eventually agrees to listen to Shi's story. Without delay, she divulges that she was exiled from her home, which subsequently fell victim to a monster attack. She reveals her unusual ability to manipulate mana, an uncommon skill for her beast tribe lineage. What sets her even further apart is her proficiency in specialized magic known as Future Sight, which grants her glimpses into potential future events. As she lays out her circumstances, she passionately argues for Hajime's aid in saving her tribe. In response to Hajime's query about what he stands to gain, she points out that the area he intends to venture into is enshrouded in dense fog. She suggests that having a native of the Sea of Trees like herself as a guide could be invaluable for his journey. Yu interjects and proposes that taking Shi along as a guide would be advantageous. Hajime agrees and the trio sets out for the forest. Effortlessly, they dispatch one monster after another. Over time, Hajime, Yu, and Shi join forces to eliminate various adversaries, granting the tribe much-needed relief. One evening, the group finally enjoys a moment of respite. It's during this tranquil period that Shi initiates a conversation with Hajime, inquiring about his objectives. Hajime candidly reveals his sole desire, to return home with Yu. Responding to his sincerity, she expresses her own wish to accompany Hajime on his journey. Furthermore, the members of the Humiliated tribe voice their determination not to remain weak any longer. Hajime imparts a vital lesson, emphasizing the principle of survival, either kill or be killed. Empowered by this newfound perspective, the tribe's people are inspired to take action. Hajime commands them to engage in monster hunting, a move that signifies their newfound resolve and determination. Shi and Yu engage in a friendly duel, with Shi eventually managing to scratch Yu's cheek. Their playful sparring is interrupted by Hajime's arrival, and he inquires Yu about Shi's performance. Just then, the tribesmen join them, bearing the trophies of their successful hunt, exuding an air of bloodthirsty triumph. The group proceeds to the Great Tree, where they discover a monument. Inside the monument, Yu deciphers the significance of the 4 symbols, identifying them as relics from other labyrinths. This revelation sparks Hajime's decision to explore these new labyrinths. Additionally, Hajime requests that the Humiliated tribesmen remain behind to train, hinting at the potential need for their assistance in the future. This interaction marks a point of potential growth and collaboration between Hajime and the Humiliated tribe. After a period of reflection, she reminisces about her mother's words, in which she mentioned the possibility of she encountering remarkable individuals beyond the Sea of Trees. Returning to the present moment, she appeals to Yu to honor their agreement and uphold the terms of the bet since she emerged victorious in their friendly duel. However, Hajime responds by asserting his stance, indicating that he has no intention of offering anything in return. She counters Hajime's assertion by emphasizing the malleability of the future. She explains that with determination, one can actively alter the course of events to reshape their destiny. This discussion delves into the concepts of agency and change, reflecting Shi's belief in the power to influence one's own path. In Risen Gorge, Hajime and the group are actively searching for an entrance to the labyrinth. During their exploration, Shi makes a significant discovery and excitedly alerts Hajime and Yu to her findings. She has stumbled upon the entrance they were seeking. Upon entering, Hajime takes on a group of monsters, and the team soon comes across a stone tablet. Curiosity piqued, she takes a swing at the tablet with her hammer, shattering it. However, a voice emanating from the tablet informs them that it will eventually regenerate. Undeterred, Hajime and the others press deeper into the labyrinth, encountering and skillfully overcoming various traps along the way. Their journey is marked by teamwork, resourcefulness, and their ability to navigate through challenges with ease. After a prolonged journey through the labyrinth, Hajime and his companions find themselves back in the very room where their adventure had started. Meanwhile, in the Highlight Kingdom, Yuka informs that Eiko's departure is imminent. Fueled by her restlessness, Yuka decides that she can't stay idle any longer and resolves to accompany Eiko on her upcoming expedition. Additionally, Yuka endeavors to make her classmates comprehend the fact that Hajime Nagumo was responsible for saving their lives. Meanwhile, within the labyrinth, Hajime and his companions successfully arrive at My Lady's lair. However, Hajime notices the presence of guards blocking the hallway. To bypass this obstacle, he assigns Shi the task of leading the way, assuring her that he and Yu will intervene if the situation becomes difficult. After a confrontation with the guards, Hajime and his group manage to advance and swiftly ascend a wooden platform to reach the upper level. Upon their arrival at the pinnacle, Hajime and his companions finally confront My Lady Risen. Hajime straightforwardly states their purpose, obtaining an ancient magic. A dialogue ensues between them, during which Milady inquires about Hajim's motivation for seeking the ancient magic. In response, Hajim reveals his predicament of being forcefully transported to this world by her god and expresses his determination to use the ancient magic to return home. However, Milady remains reticent about the location of the ancient magic, prompting the initiation of a fierce battle. Throughout the confrontation, Hajim and his group manage to inflict some damage on Milady, yet they discover that her armor is constructed from Byzantium, rendering her resilient. Determined to find a way, Hajim identifies a potential vulnerability: Milady's heart. With strategic coordination, Hajim and she target this weakness, relentlessly assaulting the critical point. Their relentless efforts culminate in a triumphant victory as they overcome Milady and bring her down. With her waning strength, Milady issues a final warning to Hajim, cautioning him about the perilous consequences of harnessing ancient magic. She foretells that Hajim's destiny is intertwined with the role of a god-killer. Uttering these enigmatic words, Milady's life fades away. However, their victory proves short-lived as Hajim and his companions venture into another chamber, only to discover that Milady's demise was an elaborate ruse. Employing gravitic magic, Milady has ingeniously transferred her consciousness into another body, defying death. As Hajim endeavors to claim the vast troves of treasure amassed by Milady, his actions inadvertently trigger a trap. In a swift and unexpected turn of events, the trap is activated, propelling Hajim, Yu, and Shi away from their current location. The labyrinth's treacherous nature once again asserts itself, leaving them in a precarious situation. After their abrupt expulsion from the labyrinth, Hajim and his companions find themselves on a distant shore. They subsequently arrive at Masaka Inn, where Hajim approaches the receptionist to secure lodgings. Initially, Hajim requests a single room to accommodate all three of them. Yet, you suggest the possibility of obtaining two separate rooms, one for Hajim and herself and another for Shi. However, Shi expresses her desire to share a room with Hajim. This sparks a spirited debate between Yu and Shi, with conflicting opinions clashing. As the argument ensues, Hajim becomes visibly exasperated by Shi's persistent insistence, highlighting the tension caused by her behavior. The man reveals his identity as Ilruchang, the leader of the Furin Adventurers Guild. He addresses Hajim, Yu, and Shi, expressing his need for their assistance and urging Hajim to listen to his proposition. Without delay, Ilwer explains that he requires Hajim's help in locating a group of adventurers bound for the northern mountains, and among them is Will Kudeta, the third son of Count Kugeta, and Elwer's request is for Hajim to undertake a rescue mission to bring him back. Hajim agrees to assist, but outlines two specific conditions before committing to the task, and the initial condition set forth by Hajim is for Ilwer to create status plates for Hajim and his companions. The second condition requires Ilwer's unwavering obedience to Hajim's commands whenever the need arises. Ilwer consents to these terms, and subsequently Hajim, accompanied by Yu and Shi, embarks on a journey to Ur, intending to proceed towards the mountain thereafter. Meanwhile, in the lakeside town of Eiko and her companions are partaking in a meal. Eiko, however, is visibly concerned about Shumizu's absence, noting that a week has passed without his return. The owner of the establishment approaches the group, delivering unfortunate news. The town is facing a shortage of food due to complications preventing traders from accessing essential supplies in the mountains. While their conversation unfolds, an unexpected arrival occurs, with Hajim and his companions joining them. Eiko's eyes light up as she recognizes Hajim and rushes toward him. Surprisingly, Hajim feigns ignorance and deliberately avoids acknowledging Eiko. As the group settles down for a meal, Hajim persists in disregarding Eiko's presence. Despite Eiko's inquiries about his unexpected appearance, Hajim offers evasive responses. Abruptly, a Templar knight interrupts their gathering, displaying disrespectful behavior towards Shi. In response, Hajim takes swift action, rising from his seat and promptly dispatching the knight with a gunshot. While Yukaki reflects on the memory of Hajim saving her from a demon attack, Hajim addresses Eiko and the rest of the group, advising them not to obstruct his path. In return, he pledges to refrain from taking any hostile actions against them. Following this declaration, Hajim and his companions depart. As the night sets in, Eiko contemplates the reasons behind Hajim's seemingly aggressive behavior, surmising that he must have endured numerous trials that led him to this point. Unexpectedly, Hajim silently enters Eiko's room, moving stealthily, to offer an explanation for his decision not to accompany them on their journey. In his conversation with Eiko, he delves into the post-Age of Gods history, detailing a world ensnared by conflict and revealing the manipulative actions of a deranged deity and the plight of the liberators who were eventually shunned by humanity. Hajim initiates the conversation by revealing the aftermath of the ancient Age of Gods, a period marred by rampant warfare. He explains that during this turbulent era, a deranged deity manipulated a group of soldiers known as liberators, employing them as mere pawns in a twisted game. Subsequently, humanity turned against these liberators, driving them into seclusion confusion within the labyrinths they had constructed. Hajime elaborates on their actions, describing how they devised intricate trials. Those who successfully conquered these trials were bestowed with unique powers, establishing them as mavericks. Hajime's overarching goal is to uncover a pathway back to his own world, and he asserts that the labyrinths hold the key to achieving this aspiration. As they depart, Hajime discloses that he was deliberately targeted by a magical spell cast by one of Eiko's students, which caused him to collapse. During their exit, they encounter Eiko's students who express a desire to accompany Hajime on his journey. Regrettably, Hajime turns down their request. In the midst of this, Eiko herself approaches Hajime and reveals her need to learn more about the incident. She promises to abide by Hajime's conditions, assuring him that once their conversation concludes, she and her students will separate from the group. While journeying on the Brise, Eiko informs Hajime about Shimizu's disappearance. As they halt, Hajime deploys Ornis, automatons capable of detecting humans. These devices are equipped with peering stones linked to Hajime's sight. Through the use of Ornis, Hajime makes a significant discovery, an abandoned shield and a discarded bag. This prompts him to delve deeper into the matter, leading the group to encounter large footprints of a quadruple creature. Their investigation takes them to the mountains, where they sense a hidden human presence behind a cascading waterfall. Yu employs her magical abilities to unveil a concealed passageway, granting them entry. Inside the secret chamber, they locate Will Kugeta, achieving the primary objective of their mission. Hajime takes the initiative to introduce himself to Will, explaining his role in the rescue mission as per the directive of the Fern Adventurers Guild's leader. However, as the conversation unfolds, Will reveals the imminent danger posed by the Black Dragon's presence and succumbs to feelings of guilt for the loss of his fellow comrades, leading him to believe that he is unworthy of survival. While seizing Will by the collar, Hajime endeavors to dispel his misguided self-blame and negative perspective on life. As they exit, Hajime leads the way back to the guild. Suddenly, their path is disrupted by an aggressive attack from the Black Dragon. The dragon readies his breath attack, prompting Hajime to swiftly conjure a protective shield. The force of the breath strike places immense strain on Hajime's defense, hinting at its impending collapse. Recognizing the urgency, Yu and Shi leap into action to aid Hajime. With the combined might of Yu's Heavenly Calamity spell and Shi's powerful blow, they manage to temporarily incapacitate the dragon. However, the creature regains consciousness, launching a retaliatory strike that incapacitates Shi, sending her tumbling to the ground. Hajime takes charge of confronting the dragon and sensing the impending danger, he instructs Eiko to lead the others to safety. Despite numerous attempts and strategies, the situation remains dire. After a series of persistent assaults, Shi delivers a decisive blow with her hammer, bringing the dragon to its downfall. Upon further investigation and questioning, it is revealed that the dragon is actually a dragonborn. Through Hajime's persuasive efforts, the dragonborn divulges her unsettling story. She explains that she had been fleeing her home and, exhausted, took refuge on the mountain. There she was approached by an individual clad in a black robe who subjected her to a potent spell, enslaving her will. Subsequently, she's been under the oppressive influence of this magic, with no control over her actions. Hajime, despite the Dragonborn's plea, remains resolute in his decision to end her life. However, Yu intervenes, halting Hajime's actions and preventing the Dragonborn's execution. The Dragonborn urgently requests Hajime to remove the metallic rod he had inserted earlier, as failing to do so would lead to dire consequences when she reverts to her human form. As the transformation occurs, the Dragonborn reveals her true identity as Teo Claris, a member of the Claris clan of Dragonborn. She explains that she and her fellow Dragonborn are now under the control of the dark-robed man, who intends to use their formidable force to launch an attack on the town of Ur. Teo's revelation coincides with the approach of the monster army, further underscoring the imminent threat that the town now faces. Will inquires to Hajime about his intentions in light of the impending threat to the town. Hajime, however, asserts that engaging in a war would jeopardize Will's safety, implying his reluctance to intervene. With a resolute demeanor, Hajime begins to depart, showing no inclination to offer assistance or inform the town of Ur about the impending danger. Meanwhile, Tayo's demeanor takes an inappropriate turn as she indulges in fantasies involving Hajime. Becoming increasingly irritated by her behavior, Hajime reacts by physically pulling Tayo away by one of her legs, visibly exasperated by her antics. Eiko presents Hajime with a plea for assistance in safeguarding their imperiled town from an approaching army of monsters. Hajime initially appears unyielding and resistant to intervening. However, as Eiko persists in her persuasion, Hajime's resolve softens, and he ultimately agrees to aid in the defense of the town of Ur. This decision suggests that Hajime maintains a certain level of respect and regard for his former teacher. Subsequently, Hajime and his companions organize provisions for the townspeople and arrange for the evacuation of women and children to a secure location before the impending monster assault. As night falls, Hajime assumes his post atop a watchtower, vigilantly preparing his arsenal. During this watch, Sonobe approaches Hajime, expressing her gratitude for his assistance during their previous encounter within the labyrinth. Hajime imparts words of encouragement and courage to Sonobe, who takes them to heart and continues on her path. Shortly thereafter, Hajime senses Teo's concealed presence and beckons her to reveal herself. Teo voices her desire to accompany Hajime, even offering her unwavering devotion. Hajime, however, initially declines her offer. With the imminent approach of the encroaching monsters, Hajime shifts his focus to the townspeople of He turns towards them and delivers a speech, rallying their spirits and boosting morale. In his address, Hajime shares inspiring words about Eiko, motivating the townspeople and emphasizing her significance in the face of the impending danger. Following Hajime's rousing speech, he swiftly takes action, delivering the initial decisive blow that incapacitates a demonic dragon. The battle escalates into a large-scale engagement where Hajime and Teo unleash powerful splash attacks that wreak havoc among the horde of monsters. However, Teo's energy depletes, causing her to enter a temporary rest, while Yu also struggles due to her diminishing mana reserves. In response, Hajime summons his bike and, accompanied by Shi, charges into the fray to confront the leader of the monster horde. Amid the fierce battle, Hajime and Shi successfully eliminate numerous adversaries. During this intense skirmish, Hajime spots the black-robed man observing from a rocky hill. Determined, Hajime and Shi approach the black-robed man, who is mounted on a demon wolf, and Hajime swiftly incapacitates him, halting his spectating. The shocking revelation emerges, unraveling the true identity of the enigmatic black-robed man as none other than Shimizu. He unveils his motive for orchestrating the chaos, explaining that his intent was to showcase his greatness. Shimizu's actions took him north into the mountains where he aimed to capture a monster. In a fateful encounter, he formed a sinister pact with a demon, sealing his determination to eliminate Eiko. In the midst of the escalating crisis, Eiko clings to her unwavering faith in Shimizu, extending a glimmer of hope for his redemption. Despite her attempts, Shimizu remains resolute in his malevolent plans. The tension reaches a breaking point as Shimizu wields a needle laced with lethal monster poison, holding Eiko captive and placing her life in immediate peril. In a tense moment, Shimizu demands Hajime to surrender his firearms. Unexpectedly, an assailant on a dragon-mounted assault from a distance attempts to eliminate Shimizu. A frantic rush ensues as she darts forward to shield Eiko from the impending threat, resulting in both she and Shimizu sustaining injuries. Tragedy strikes further as Shimizu employs the poison needle, causing Eiko to suffer its effects. Acting swiftly, Hajime employs his restorative abilities to neutralize the poison's impact on Eiko, while she is promptly healed. Amidst Shimizu's fading strength, Hajime queries his intentions, questioning whether Shimizu views him as an adversary. Shimizu's response, uttered in his final moments, is a resolute denial, denying enmity with Hajime. Nevertheless, Hajime remains discontent with Shimizu's response and ultimately chooses to fatally shoot him, disregarding Eiko's plea for restraint. Later during their journey aboard the Brise, both Yu and Shi come to realize Hajime's motive for ending Shimizu's life. They acknowledge that Hajime's decision to swiftly end Shimizu's suffering was driven by a desire to spare Eiko from shouldering the burden of his death. Simultaneously, an abducted young girl comes into view, a clear indication of potential trouble. Meanwhile, in Foreign, Will joyfully reunites with the guild master Ilwer. Hajime seizes the opportunity to request a new status plate for Teo. Subsequently, Yu, Hajime, Shi, and Teo convene in a room. Hajime stands near a window and notices suspicious figures lurking on the streets, observing the guild. As the conversation unfolds, Haya reminisces about her father's words regarding the limitations of even a god's power and the eventual end to his malevolent schemes. Furthermore, Teo recalls her decision to volunteer for the mission of investigating the alien beings due to her belief in the significant impact it could have on their worlds. The following day, Hajime takes Shi on a tour of Foreign, and at Shi's suggestion, they visit the aquarium. At the aquarium, they encounter a talking fish named Lemon. Curious, Hajime inquires Lehman about his presence in the aquarium. Lehman provides details about his personal journey and how he became trapped in an underground current, ultimately finding himself confined within the aquarium. In response, Hajime and Shi devise a strategy to liberate Lehman from his aquatic prison. Working together, they execute their plan and successfully release Lehman from the confines of the aquarium, setting him free into a nearby river. Shortly after being released into the river, Lehman informs Hajime and Shi about witnessing a little girl who appeared to be involved in a suspicious transaction, indicating the presence of slavers in the city. He advises them to be cautious. On their way back, Hajime's heightened senses lead him to detect a child's presence in the sewers. Back at their location, Teo questions Yu about any concerns she might have regarding Shi spending time alone with Hajime. Yu reassures Teo, explaining that she, just like herself, holds affection for Hajime, and that she wholeheartedly dedicates herself to everything she does. Hajime proceeds into the sewers and discovers a child. As he heads back with the child in his arms, the child regains consciousness. Hajime introduces himself and Shi, and after questioning the child, learns that her name is Miu. Following Miu's rescue, Hajime and Shi attend to her immediate needs by providing nourishment and ensuring her cleanliness. Meanwhile, Yu and Tio continue their conversation regarding Hajime and Shi. It becomes apparent to Hajime that Miu's captors are likely the same slavers mentioned by Lemon. Engaging in a thorough discussion with Shi, Hajime makes the decision to take Miu to the city guards, aiming to ensure her safety and well-being in their custody. While on his way after leaving Miu with the city guards, Hajime is abruptly interrupted by the sound of an explosion coming from the very location he had left her. Rushing back to the scene, Hajime discovers a message scrawled on a wall demanding the presence of Shi, the white-haired bunny girl, in exchange for Miu's safety. With urgency and concern, Hajime and Shi swiftly reunite with Yu and Tio, explaining the dire situation and requesting their assistance in a mission to rescue Miu from her captors. With their resolve hardened, Hajime, Yu, Shi, and Tio embark on a determined mission to confront and eliminate the gang members who have taken Miu captive. Their path is marked by swift and ruthless action as they systematically dismantle the slavers' operation. Hajime's trail leads him to the leader of the gang, and without hesitation, he takes down the boss, securing Miu's rescue and ensuring her safety. Rising into the sky, Hajime carries Miu aloft while Yu and Shi lay waste to the slavers' stronghold, leaving no trace of their nefarious activities. Once the chaos subsides, Hajime brings Miu back down to meet Yu and Tio. As their conversation unfolds, Miu feels a strong bond with Hajime and decides to affectionately address him as her papa, solidifying the unique connection they share. A while later, the group travels on the Brise with Shi on her motorbike riding alongside. As they near the outpost town of Harad, Miu notices Hajime's subdued demeanor and asks him about it. Hajime reveals that he visited this town 4 months ago. Upon arrival, Hajime locates Lobo Wavis and hands him the letter from Ilwer. The letter highlights Hajime's recent feats and acts of heroism, underscoring his accomplishments. Unexpectedly, Endo appears urgently, bringing news of an ongoing demon attack on the labyrinth. His palpable relief and Hajime's survival is evident. Acting promptly, Endo approaches Hajime and passionately implores his assistance against the demon threat, stressing the dire consequences if they don't act. Simultaneously, the assembled heroes are already investigating the area for the intruding monster, tracking a trail of monster blood. As the group pieces together the creature's motives, a demoness makes her entrance, issuing a challenge for the heroes to surrender and align with her. Intensifying the tension, she unveils that one of their own has already succumbed to her offer. Yet Cookie and his companions remain skeptical of the demon's claim and swiftly engage in combat against the encroaching monsters. The skirmish takes a dire turn as Shizuku is swiftly incapacitated. Despite the heroes' valiant efforts, they soon grasp the grim reality that these monsters are vastly superior in strength. The heroes manage to inflict damage on one of the creatures, only to be thwarted by the demoness's swift healing magic, a realization that underscores the overwhelming challenge they face. Recognizing their predicament, Shizuku instructs Endo to relay the situation to Captain Meld, an encounter that would unexpectedly bring Endo and Hajime together. As the heroes continue their struggle against the formidable monsters, a sudden surge of energy enables Koki to unleash his powerful limit break skill, obliterating one of the creatures. Tragedy strikes amidst the chaos as Taniguchi falls victim to the ruthless demons. Grief-stricken, Shizuku rushes to Koki's side, urging him to recognize the futility of their situation and the overwhelming power of the demoness. She delivers a resounding slap, attempting to bring Koki back to reality and persuade him to retreat. Meanwhile, Endo hastens to inform Captain Meld about the dire circumstances. Unbeknownst to Hajime, the pursuing demon is closing in on him. Captain Meld courageously confronts the demon, urging Endo to flee while he valiantly engages the creature head-on. Meanwhile, high atop the mountain, Eri and Hayami are consumed by fear for their friend's safety, advocating for the possibility of yielding to the demon lady's proposition. Amidst this tension, the battered and wounded Captain Meld makes a desperate appearance, only to meet a tragic fate as the demon lady arrives and ruthlessly ends his life in front of the heroes. In the midst of these events, Lo implores Hajime to assist in rescuing their companions. However, Hajime firmly communicates to Endo that these individuals are strangers to him, lacking any significant connection. As the battle rages on, Kuki unleashes his limit break once more, successfully inflicting harm upon the demon lady. The act of ending a life deeply unsettles Kuki, leaving him visibly shaken and momentarily vulnerable. Exploiting this vulnerability, the surrounding monsters launch a relentless assault on Kuki, eventually overpowering him and causing him to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, at the guild, Endo persists in his efforts to convince Hajime to help. Stirred by their shared past memories, Hajime ultimately relents and agrees to provide his assistance to the imperiled heroes. Simultaneously, Shizuku displays exceptional courage by confronting the formidable monsters head-on, though her bravery exacts a heavy toll as she suffers severe injuries. In a critical moment, Kaori rushes to Shizuku's side to provide assistance, attempting to shield her from further harm. However, the relentless monsters manage to breach their protective barrier, endangering both Shizuku and Kaori. Suddenly, salvation arrives from an unexpected source. The metal rod hurtles down from the sky with precision, cleaving through the monsters that had threatened Kaori and Shizuku. As the dust settles, the enigmatic figure responsible for this timely intervention reveals himself. Hajime has arrived on the scene. While navigating their escape from the mountain, Hajime comes up with an idea. He retrieves his pile driver, whose long rods are constructed from compressed ore and coated with Azantium. Utilizing it as an improvised tool, Hajime excavates a hole and dramatically springs out, announcing his arrival on the battlefield with flair. The unexpected sight of Hajime Megumo astonishes all witnesses. Methodically, Hajime allocates specific roles to each of his team members, reserving the challenging task of confronting both the demons and the demon lady exclusively for himself. Amidst the chaotic clash, Hajime engages in a fierce onslaught against a multitude of monsters, showcasing his exceptional combat skills. He adeptly identifies the presence of concealed, invisible adversaries and systematically eliminates them, one by one. Despite the demon lady's escalating fear in response to Hajime's relentless assault, he remains resolute, unwaveringly eradicating the relentless horde of monsters. The heroes are captivated by the astonishing spectacle unfolding before them, prompting them to question the enigmatic newcomer's identity. Endo takes the initiative and discloses that the individual in question is indeed Hajime Megumo, the same person who fell from the bridge. Hayami finds it difficult to believe given his prior involvement in Hajime's fall. Endo, however, assures them that Hajime's status plate is authentic, dispelling any lingering skepticism. In the midst of the chaotic battle, Yu directly challenges Hayami, probing his intentions regarding Hajime's actions. Amidst the fray, Hajime achieves a significant feat by eliminating the demon lady's healer, incapacitating her ability to mend herself and her demon allies. As a countermeasure, the demon lady summons a serpent to launch an attack against Shizuku. In a swift and precise move, Hajime throws his sword to Shizuku, allowing her to effortlessly slice the snake into pieces. As the demon lady attempts to flee, Hajime effortlessly intercepts her, preventing her escape. He explains that he has deduced that the monsters were created through ancient magic, and the demon race acquired the ability to use this magic by conquering a formidable labyrinth. In the following moments, Hajime readies himself to confront and eliminate the demon lady. Amidst the chaotic aftermath of the battle, Kuki fervently tries to obstruct Hajime's unwavering determination. Despite Kuki's heartfelt plea, Hajime remains resolute, brushing aside his former friend's appeals. Ignoring Kuki's objections, Hajime takes decisive action, raising his weapon and decisively ending the life of the demon lady. The atmosphere then shifts to Tanabuchi and Meld, who are skillfully tended to by Shi. In the aftermath of this intense ordeal, emotions run deep, prompting Kaori to approach Hajime with a mix of relief, gratitude, and affection. The weight of the moment leads her to tightly embrace him, a gesture that conveys her immense relief at his survival. As the group embarks on their journey back, an undeniable tension hangs in the air between Hajime and Koki. The unspoken turmoil between them is impossible to ignore. With a keen sense of perception, Hajime detects Koki's simmering anger, the consequence of the demon lady's demise. In a pivotal moment, Hajime faces Koki head-on, addressing the underlying conflict that has festered between them. In unequivocal terms, Hajime redefines their relationship. He lays bare his personal ethos, revealing that he does not extend mercy to anyone, a stark contrast to Koki's moral compass. Hajime's firm declaration marks a definitive break in his friendship with Koki, signifying an irreparable shift. He cautions Koki that opposing his path could lead to their confrontation. After the battle, Hajime is surprised by the sizable army led by Lo. In this tense atmosphere, Kaori gathers her courage to express her love for Hajime and her intention to accompany him. Hajime responds gently, revealing his heart belongs to you. While acknowledging Kaori's feelings, he underscores his existing bond, allowing Kaori to grapple with his choice. Interrupting their conversation, Yu interjects and invites Kaori to accompany them. In a somewhat playful manner, Yu accepts Kaori's unspoken challenge, creating an underlying sense of rivalry between the two. Meanwhile, Hajime begins to depart, informing Kaori that their departure is scheduled for the following day. Set against the tapestry of the Highlight Kingdom, a moment of profound consequence unfurls as Pope Ishtar conveys to the monarch the impending return of the heroes. Just as this momentous report finds its place, a resonant proclamation fills the air proclaiming the heroes' imminent arrival. In the wake of this announcement, Princess Liliana's enthusiasm propels her forward with an undeniable eagerness. As time flows, Shizuku draws closer, intertwining herself within a discourse that delves into the intricate intricacies of the kingdom's matters. Within this exchange, Shizuku imparts to Liliana that Kaori has resolutely chosen to remain by Hajime Nagumo's side. This revelation stirs contemplation within Liliana's heart, igniting musings on the potential reverberations within Koki's world. Eager to soothe Liliana's concerns, Shizuku avows her unwavering determination to deftly navigate any currents that might arise with Koki. Soon, Shizuku mentions that Hajime Nagumo stayed to search for another way for them to go back to their world. Meanwhile, in the Gruen Desert, Hajime and his companions traverse the sands in a vehicle, and soon within the vehicle, a discussion sparks between Kaori and Yu concerning Hajime, gradually intensifying as they each vie for his attention, creating an atmosphere of rivalry. The tension escalates until their fellow travelers intervene, attempting to defuse the situation by reminding them of Miu's presence and urging them not to argue in front of her. Eventually, Kaori and Yu heed the advice and the tension subsides. However, the tranquility is abruptly shattered when Hajime notices a disturbance ahead. Suddenly, a sandworm emerges from beneath the desert floor directly in the path of their vehicle, Bryce. Additional sandworms emerge and give chase to Hajime's Bryce, and while employing his resourcefulness, Hajime deploys a missile, eliminating the sandworms in pursuit. However, a larger group of sandworms ahead becomes alerted and begins its pursuit. Utilizing a mounted gun on the Bryce, Hajime successfully eliminates this new threat as well. Soon, in their travels, they encounter an individual who seems to have been the target of the sandworms, and so Hajime decides to investigate and instructs Miu to remain in the safety of the Bryce while he and the others assess the situation. Kaori approaches the person and discovers that his mana is undergoing a dangerous overload. She attempts various methods to mitigate the situation, but her efforts prove futile. Utilizing her Sanctorum ability, Kaori successfully channels the excessive mana out of the individual's body and redirects it into the holy crystal ring Hajime had given her. Through her persistent efforts, Kaori manages to avert the crisis and stabilize the person's condition. Yet a sense of caution prevails in her actions, as she fears that extracting an excessive amount of mana could potentially result in the person's demise due to severe depletion. Continuing their discussion, Hajime proposes that Kaori should also perform a thorough examination on all of them, ensuring any potential airborne diseases are promptly identified. Amidst their deliberation, the individual gradually regains consciousness. With input from the group, a collective decision is reached to extend an invitation to the stranger to join them within the confines of the Bryce, providing a safer environment for both their guest and further evaluation. The person revealed as Bai's Fjord Zenjin introduces himself as the offspring of Duke Lunsui Fjord Zenjin, hailing from the dukedom of Ankaji. Notably, this town aligns with Hajime and his companion's destination. Bai's explains that his town has been plagued by a poison leading to mana overload in its residents. He reveals that a potential cure of the Stillstone is located within Grun Volcano. Bai's earnestly requests Hajime's help, who readily agrees to assist in obtaining the Stillstone to save the troubled town of Ankaji. Freed updates Michael about his recent defeat at the hands of his adversaries, leading to significant losses. He emphasizes the urgent need to acquire a new form of Age of God magic to enhance his power. Additionally, Freed expresses his determination to avenge the death of Katria. He requests Michael to safeguard their home in his absence, while he pursues his goal of becoming stronger. Following their arrival in Ankaji City, Hajime and his companions proceed to the location. Hajime directly approaches Lunsui and informs him of their intention to aid the city, and upon reaching the site, Yu utilizes her magical abilities to generate a body of water. Hajime strategically deploys grenades near the water's edge to draw out the lurking monster responsible for the pollution. Persistently, Hajime hurls numerous grenades into the water, and eventually, a slime-like creature emerges from beneath the surface, confirming its role as the source of contamination. Despite the emergence of the slime-like monster, the water remains tainted, and so Teo assures everyone that the oasis will gradually restore itself to its pristine state due to the abundant flow of fresh water. Meanwhile, Lunsui expresses his gratitude towards Hajime for the assistance rendered and acknowledges a debt he now owes to Hajime. He then proceeds to enter the hall and publicly announces that Hajime's group will aid them by venturing to the Grun Volcano to mine Stillstone. Following this, Kaori takes the responsibility of staying behind to care for Miu, enabling the rest of the team to embark on their journey to the Grun Volcano for the quest. Over time, Hajime and his team venture towards the entrance of the Grun Volcano. Upon entering the cavern, Hajime observes mineral formations hanging from the cave walls and wonders if they might be Stillstone. Upon closer inspection, it becomes evident that the minerals are merely pebbles, suggesting that someone else had already mined the genuine Stillstone. To procure the desired mineral, Hajime determines that they need to venture deeper into the volcano. While progressing, a fireball hurtles toward them, yet Yu swiftly neutralizes it using her spatial severance, dissipating the threat. Adding to their astonishment, a blazing bull materializes before Hajime and his team, poised for confrontation. Acting swiftly, she steps forward, charging at the fiery adversary and effortlessly dispatching it with a single powerful blow. Following this encounter, the group takes a much-needed respite as the escalating heat begins to take its toll. While resting, Teo offers an insightful perspective to Hajime, suggesting that these trials might be orchestrated by the Great Labyrinth to test his ability to maintain focus in extreme conditions and adeptly respond to unexpected ambushes. This fresh insight prompts Hajime to reconsider his approach and understanding of the challenges they face. After a brief interval, Hajime and his companions embark on a boat to navigate a river of flowing lava. Unexpectedly, their vessel cascades down what appears to be a lava waterfall, depositing them into a river adorned with countless stillstones embedded within its walls. The sight of this precious mineral glinting in the rock formations leaves them in awe, signaling the potential success of their mission. Without hesitation, Hajime sets his sights on the nearby island, only to be met with a sudden onslaught of serpentine adversaries erupting from beneath the lava. Swiftly discerning the threat, Hajime employs his specialized ammunition to eradicate the threatening reptiles. Yet to his astonishment, the defeated snakes regenerate, persisting with renewed vigor. Hajime soon comprehends the nature of the challenge. To secure the coveted 100 gems, they must vanquish a staggering 100 snakes. Seizing the opportunity, Tio, Shi, and Yu engage in a spirited competition, vying to outpace one another in their quest for snake eliminations. A fervent race ensues, each member of the team displaying their combat prowess and determination to secure the gems. As the frenzy unfolds, the triumphant trio triumphs over the scaly onslaught, methodically reducing the snake population. Ultimately, the last remnants of the snake adversaries dwindle down to a mere 5. Just as Hajime readies his gun to eliminate the final serpent, an unexpected and sudden beam of light strikes him with astonishing force. Struck by the unexpected ray of light, Hajime loses consciousness and plummets toward the fiery lava below. Swiftly, Yu intervenes and manages to rescue him, but the mysterious beam continues to wreak havoc, destroying their surroundings. Fiercely determined to shield Hajime, Yu puts up a valiant defense. Amidst the chaos, Freed arrives on the scene, marveling at Hajime's survival against the power of Uranus' breath. Hajime regains consciousness and engages in a dialogue with Freed. Freed proceeds to introduce himself to Hajime and the others, revealing his identity as the god's apostle. Freed asserts that his purpose is to punish the so-called heathens, which in this instance includes Hajime and his team. As the conversation unfolds, Hajime boldly declares Freed his enemy since he stands in their path, sparking a fierce confrontation. Freed swiftly employs Cosmic Rift to appear behind Hajime and launch an attack. Meanwhile, Tio becomes acutely aware of the urgent need to intervene on behalf of her master Hajime. She vividly recalls her father's warning about the Dragonborns being perceived as enemies of God, realizing that any misstep could lead to Hajime's demise. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Tio undergoes a remarkable transformation, morphing into a formidable black dragon with a resolute determination to directly confront Freed. Sensing the imminent danger posed by the fearsome black dragon, Freed promptly calculates that a tactical retreat is the most prudent decision, acknowledging the potential peril and the ominous possibility of his own demise. However, his hasty exit is abruptly halted as Hajime launches himself into action with a fierce determination, unleashing a relentless barrage of potent attacks against Freed. The ensuing battle unfolds with relentless intensity, and despite their valiant efforts, Freed and his dragon companions ultimately manage to escape the fray. Despite emerging victorious, Hajime is left depleted of his energy, teetering perilously close to the precipice and the molten lava below. Just as it seems he's about to fall, Tio swoops in, flying through the air to catch Hajime in mid-air, preventing his potentially disastrous fate. Freed acknowledges that he may have underestimated Hajime's true potential. Despite this recognition, Freed remains unwavering in his determination to eliminate Hajime. As tensions escalate, Freed destroys the cornerstone, triggering a surge of lava that begins to rise menacingly. Faced with this dire situation, Hajime devises a daring plan. He urges Tio to make her escape through the roof, delivering a poignant message to Kaori and Miu. A simple yet heartfelt "see you later." Tio agrees and utilizes her pain conversion skill, enhancing her abilities by channeling pain. Swiftly ascending through the roof, Tio's departure doesn't escape Freed's notice, compelling him to pursue and eliminate her. However, in a dramatic turn of events, Hajime's arsenal detonates, setting off a cataclysmic eruption within the Gruen volcano. The volcanic tremors reverberate across the surroundings, signaling the explosive culmination of their intense encounter. In the Highlight Kingdom, Liliana observes Shizuku's rigorous training, which triggers flashbacks of their recent battle against monsters. Shizuku's intense focus is momentarily interrupted when a friendly cat crosses her path only to dart away. As Shizuku turns around, she finds Liliana approaching her. Acknowledging the absence of Cookie, Liliana engages Shizuku in conversation, expressing her awareness of Shizuku's current companionship. In the midst of their conversation, Liliana brings up the concerning topic of discussions circulating about labeling Hajime Nagumo as a heretic. Meanwhile, in the forest, Hayami becomes the recipient of an enigmatic voice belonging to an unseen lady. This voice attempts to initiate a dialogue with Hayami, but he staunchly asserts his refusal to comply with its wishes. Undeterred, the voice presents an alternative proposition to Hayami, the idea of him reclaiming the princess. The voice goes on to explain that it isn't commanding his obedience, but rather proposing a trade. In this trade, both parties stand to gain. Hayami would obtain his desires, while the voice of the lady would also achieve her own objectives. In swift response, Tio hurries to the Highlight Kingdom. Upon her arrival, she reverts to her human form and encounters Kaori. Concerned, Kaori inquires to Hajime about the whereabouts of the rest of the group, prompting Tio to urge her to remain composed. Eventually, Tio reassures Kaori that Hajime and the others should be joining them shortly, conveying Hajime's message of "see you later" to both Kaori and Miu. In the course of their conversation, Tio and Kaori decide on a plan. They will retrieve Hajime and the others from the Grand Gruen volcano and then proceed to reunite Miu with her mother and Arisen. Meanwhile, Hajime and Yu find themselves engaged in a discussion about the fortunate or unfortunate circumstances that led them to escape the Gruen volcano. In their contemplation, Hajim's memory revisits the specifics of their escape strategy from the impending lava and the perilous circumstances they confronted. Guided by their determination, Hajim and his companions reached a door leading to a room wherein a conspicuous magic circle caught their attention. As Hajim, accompanied by Yu and Xia, positions themselves within the center of the circle, a prompt materializes before them, bearing the inscription, "I sincerely hope that the future of the humankind will be based on free will." Yu then discovers the evidence of their achievement, and Hajim suggests a daring plan to escape by swimming through the lava. He reveals the existence of an underwater vessel he designed, which they intend to use for this unconventional journey. However, Hajim's perception changes as they progress. He realizes that the situation is not a volcanic eruption, but rather an external force pulling them downward. This prompts them to seek safety away from Ankaji, understanding that proximity might not be the wisest choice. Eventually, their course leads them to the ocean's surface, where they find themselves. Suddenly, Hajim and the group are confronted by a group of sea creatures, but Hajim skillfully deals with them. Unexpectedly, Miu, Tio, and Shi appear from the sky. The reunion is heartwarming, and everyone is relieved to see Hajim unharmed. As they continue their journey across the ocean, they reach the town of Arizin. There, Hajim presents his proof of conquest, and the town's commander confirms the successful completion of their quest. Hajim accompanies Miu to reunite with her mother, Remia. Miu eagerly embraces her mother, and the heartfelt moment touches everyone witnessing it. Hajim then gently lifts Remia, intending to help her with her injured leg. Kaori tends to Remia's injuries and informs her that she'll need to stay under her care for at least 2 days to monitor for any potential side effects. Remia expresses her gratitude to Hajim for reuniting her with Miu. As the conversation progresses, the topic shifts to Hajim staying with Miu. Eventually, it's decided that Hajim will take on the role of Miu's father from now on. In the Highlight Kingdom, Yegashi encounters Eiko, and they engage in a conversation discussing how Hajim Nagumo saved them all. Further into their conversation, Yegashi inquires to Eiko about the specifics of her recovery from her injuries. He notices a change in Eiko's behavior and suspects that a significant event involving Hajim Nagumo might have taken place. Intrigued, Yegashi presses on and asks Eiko to recount her encounter with the king. Eiko reveals that Hajim Nagumo has now been officially branded as a heretic by the authorities. Yegashi connects the dots, expressing that branding Hajim as a heretic essentially implies a denial of the goddess of fertility herself. Eiko agrees with this interpretation and adds that she found the behavior of the king and other officials rather peculiar. Delving deeper into their conversation, Eiko reveals that Hajim Nagumo confided in her about something concerning the god worshipped by the church. This revelation appears to be significant and has left Eiko with a sense of unease and suspicion about the true nature of the church's beliefs. Sitting at the cliff's edge, Hajim's solitude is interrupted as the rest of the group arrives. Hizaji takes out the proof of conquest obtained from Gruen and directs it toward the moon. A surprising radiance emanates from the pendant, casting a beam of light. The sight evokes a sense of emotion not only in Hizaji, but also in Hajime and the others present. Later on, as they navigate through a cavern using Hajime's boat, a sudden awareness tingles in Hajime. He detects an approaching presence. Reacting swiftly, Hajime decides to test his weaponry and directs a missile at the looming threat, successfully intercepting the danger. After a brief interval, Hajime and his companions locate the 5th pentagram symbol. Despite this, Hajime opts to employ the pendant's remaining light to access the entrance. As they step through, their vessel crashes into the water. A cascade of water pours down, but Hajime entrusts the situation to Yu, who adeptly handles it. As they progress underwater, the depth increases, prompting Hajime to carry Yu on his shoulders. Playfully, the others jest about this, provoking a rare outburst from Yu directed at Kaori. Their journey leads them to encounter a gelatinous creature, prompting Shi to charge forward and attack. Unfortunately, her efforts prove ineffective against the resilient foe. Hajime's quick thinking leads him to create a protective dome to shield them from the corrosive jelly-like substance exuded by the monster. However, it becomes evident that the creature's acidic material is eating through the dome. Frustratingly, their magical attacks prove ineffective against the substance. Unexpectedly, the jelly monster transforms into its true form, prompting Hajime to ready himself for combat. The group launches a relentless assault, causing the monster to explode. To their astonishment, it regenerates swiftly. At a critical moment, Hajime realizes that the monster lacks a traditional mana crystal. Its entire body functions as its mana source. Hajime resorts to using a flamethrower gun, which proves equally futile. But, displaying his resourcefulness, Hajime identifies an escape route. They descend through the ground, emerging in the water. Hajime ensures Kaori's safety and assists her to the shore. With a watchful eye, he awaits the rest of the group's arrival. Hajime quickly urges Kaori to maintain her focus, emphasizing that they are still navigating within the confines of the Great Labyrinth. As they progress to a ship graveyard, an unexpected twist occurs. They find themselves ensnared within an illusionary realm where only magical attacks can be effective. The surroundings shift abruptly, transporting them into a pitched battle on the deck of a ship. Caught off guard, they find themselves encircled by a group of menacing assailants. Amid the tense situation, Hajime's mind races to find a way out. With a surge of determination, he devises a daring strategy to confront their adversaries head-on. Displaying remarkable courage, he and Kaori launch into action, engaging the enemies with calculated intent. In a surreal twist, the illusory scenario dissolves abruptly, and they are jolted back into reality, leaving them to grapple with the abrupt transition. After a moment of respite, Hajime and Kaori engage in a conversation regarding the pivotal role you played in saving Hajime. During this exchange, Hajime delicately attempts to convey to Kaori that he wishes for her to distance herself from him. He candidly admits that his heart is solely devoted to you, regardless of the closeness he shares with others. Kaori appears deeply wounded by his words, the impact evident on her demeanor. In a different context, a nun approaches Hariyama Eiko, beckoning her to accompany her to the Divine Mountain. Utilizing her charm, the nun endeavors to possess Eiko, a tactic met with resistance by Eiko, despite her unintentional resistance. Eiko's strength in fending off the influence leaves an impression on the nun, who acknowledges Eiko's potential usefulness and assures her that her life will be spared, as she envisions Eiko becoming a valuable pawn in her schemes. Hajime continues his attempt to convey his feelings to Kaori, emphasizing that she should reflect on her reasons for joining their group. He reiterates his unwavering love for you and offers to personally escort Kaori back to Yegashi if she desires. As their conversation unfolds, Hajime and Kaori find themselves ensnared in another illusion. In this new illusion, they find themselves aboard a grandiose boat amidst a lavish party. The gathering includes not only humans but also beast men, creating an atmosphere of extravagance and festivity. The king steps forward and commences his speech, leading Hajime to initially speculate whether they are commemorating the war's conclusion. However, a shocking twist takes place as the king's speech takes a dark turn. He commands the brutal massacre of all the beast men aboard the ship in the name of their true deity, a hit. Witnessing the horrifying spectacle of beheadings, Kaori is overwhelmed and averts her gaze. Amidst this gruesome scene, Hajime and Kaori catch the eye of a woman dressed as a nun, sharing an intense gaze. The illusion eventually fades, and Hajime consoles Kaori, who is deeply disturbed by the violence she witnessed. Reflecting on the event, Hajime speculates that such a malevolent setup orchestrated by their god could undermine the faith of the locals in this world. Hajime and Kaori delve deeper into the enigma, surmising that a deity might have influenced the king's sudden hatred towards beast men and demons, considering the genuine reverence shown by the ship's occupants towards him. Abruptly, a gust of wind flings Kaori away, prompting Hajime to fend off the sudden onslaught of soldiers surrounding him. In his search for Kaori, Hajime eventually locates her, but quickly discerns that her body has been commandeered by another presence, using Kaori's voice to manipulate him. In the ensuing confrontation, Hajime asserts his determination to torment the entity within Kaori without killing it until it releases her. His strategy eventually bears fruit, and Kaori is freed from the intruding force. As she regains consciousness, Kaori seals her sentiments with a kiss, signifying her decision to stay. In a heartfelt confession, she declares her love for Hajime, solidifying her feelings. Shortly after, Hajime and Kaori navigate their way to the magic circle, and through its enchantment, they materialize at the culmination of the dungeon. Here, they reunite Liu, Tio, and Shi. The female members of the group initiate a conversation with Kaori, delving into the events that transpire between her and Hajime. As the conversation progresses, a lighthearted and teasing challenge is playfully initiated by the group, primarily involving you and Kaori. The challenge revolves around determining who will ultimately win Hajime's affections. Eventually, a significant moment arrives when the proof of conquest magically manifests itself in their presence, signifying the successful completion of their arduous trial. This achievement marks their readiness to undertake the forthcoming expedition into the labyrinth located within the Sea of Trees. Abruptly, the water begins to engulf Hajime and his companions, prompting an immediate response from you and the others as they swiftly erect a protective barrier, enclosing themselves beneath the water's surface. Meanwhile, the relentless and gelatinous creature, the Devourer, resurfaces, confronting Hajime and the team once more. Amid the struggle to confront this menace, Led arrives on the scene with reinforcements, engaging the Devourer and temporarily holding it at bay. This respite grants Hajime the opportunity to ready himself for a decisive confrontation. With a well-prepared strategy in place, Hajime manages to effectively neutralize the Devourer, bringing an end to its menace. In the Nalai Kingdom, a growing sense of concern envelops everyone as they realize that several individuals have mysteriously disappeared without a trace, leaving them anxious and unsettled. Simultaneously, the enigmatic nun has escorted Eiko to the Divine Mountain under the scrutiny of her lord, who deems Eiko's actions as potentially troublesome and disruptive to their plans. This unfolding situation amplifies the atmosphere of uncertainty and intrigue in the kingdom. Morning arrives in Arisen, and Miu playfully rouses Hajime and Yu from their slumber. Soon, she and Kaori burst into Hajime's room, extending an invitation to join them for breakfast. Gathered around the table, Miu's curiosity leads her to inquire about Hajime's plans, prompting him to mention his intention to construct new equipment. Miu eagerly offers to assist him in this endeavor. As breakfast unfolds, Miu engages in a spirited game of tag with the other girls, filling the air with laughter and energy. Meanwhile, Hajime finds himself lost in thought, contemplating how to break the news to Mew about their imminent departure. Suddenly, Remia emerges from the water's depths, expressing her gratitude to Hajime for his assistance. In that moment, Hajime realizes that Remia is already aware of their impending departure, prompting a bittersweet realization to settle over him. Yet rather than urging him to remain, Remia offers Hajime the wisdom to follow his path. Heeding her counsel, Hajime musters the resolve to share his departure plans with Mew. Amidst this, a comical scene unfolds as the other women playfully vie for Hajime's attention, each attempting to outdo the other in their efforts to impress him. Eventually, Hajime sits Mew down and gently breaks the news that he will be departing the following day. Heartbroken, Mew's tears flow freely at the thought of their impending separation. Over time, her emotions find steadiness, allowing her to bid Hajime and the others a tearful but resolute farewell. Hajime offers reassurance, promising Mew that once their current journey concludes, he will return with the others to retrieve her. As days pass, Hajime enjoys precious moments with his companions, sharing his resolute commitment to traverse worlds and introduce Mew to his homeland, Japan. A sense of unity and purpose envelops them. Time moves on, and Mew arrives to announce that dinner is prepared, marking another shared moment. The dawn of the following day arrives, and it's time for Hajime and his companions to bid a fond farewell to Mew and Remia. They exchange heartfelt wishes of luck and success for their respective journeys, reinforcing their bonds and setting forth on new paths. Amidst the unfolding events, Liliana finds herself evading contact with others, disturbed by witnessing Eiko's abduction by the nun. Adding to her concerns, Liliana's father's recent behavior raises suspicions. In the Divine Mountain, Eiko inquires to the nun about her objectives, only to be told that her departure from their plans has rendered her knowledge unnecessary. Simultaneously, Freed rallies his demonic forces, determined to vanquish those he deems heretics. His impassioned speech ignites his army's march forward. In the Highlight Kingdom, a soldier named Jose delivers troubling news to the commander. Numerous troops are displaying signs of the ominous phenomenon known as the Void. Uncertainty and foreboding grip the various corners of this intricate tale. Following the troubling revelation about the Void, the commander takes swift action. He instructs Jose to assemble individuals knowledgeable in dark magic to investigate the enigmatic phenomenon and devise countermeasures against it. Concerned for the safety of his allies, the commander pens a letter intended for Duke's Engine and Hajime, should unforeseen events unfold. In the midst of this, Desuke appears before Commander Meld, a sudden presence. Simultaneously, Jose approaches the scene with a report for Meld. The atmosphere takes a sudden shift when the door is opened, and Jose charges towards Meld, sword in hand. As tension escalates, Jose's focus shifts to Desuke, intent on eliminating him. However, Meld intercedes, urging Desuke to flee. Yet, an unexpected turn of events occurs. Desuke rises and unexpectedly strikes Meld from behind, thrusting his sword into him. The scene takes an unexpected and shocking twist. In the Highlight Kingdom, the girls are fraught with concern and anxiety for their captain's safety, fearing the implications of recent events. Meanwhile, Meld miraculously manages to survive the sword thrust inflicted by Desuke. Swiftly recovering, Meld finds himself embroiled in a fierce confrontation against Chose, Desuke, and two other soldiers. Despite his best efforts, Meld incapacitates Chose and the two soldiers. Yet his triumph is short-lived as the fallen soldiers promptly regain consciousness, and more soldiers rush into the scene, poised to bring Meld to an end. Faced with overwhelming odds, Meld opts for a hasty retreat, choosing to escape through a window to preserve his life. As he makes his desperate exit, Moon appears before him, driven by her devotion to Ihit. In the name of the deity, she launches an aggressive assault on Meld, further complicating his dire situation. Inside the Kingdom Hall, Desuke encounters a mysterious girl who reveals that Noint's intervention was orchestrated according to her design. Continuing, she underscores that Meld's absence has cleared the way for their grand scheme's execution. Meanwhile, during their travels, Hajime and his companions come upon a tumultuous scene. Roughly 15 guards display a remarkable determination as they courageously repel a formidable group of 40 bandits. Hajime is deeply impressed by the guards' unwavering resolve as they defiantly hold their position despite the overwhelming numerical disadvantage. However, the bandits ingeniously breach the guards' protective barrier, causing it to dissolve and leaving the guards vulnerable to the assailants. Witnessing the situation unfold, Hajime reacts swiftly by accelerating and utilizing the mounted weapon on Bryce to eliminate the bandits. Following their defeat, he promptly instructs Kaori to tend to the wounded guards. Unexpectedly, Liliana emerges from her concealment and hurries towards Kaori. Their paths converge, and an introduction between Liliana and Hajime ensues. Soon after the introduction, Hajime inquires to Liliana about the purpose of her presence, and in response, Liliana discloses that Eiko has been abducted, shedding light on the reason for her unexpected appearance. Inside Bryce, Liliana recounts the unsettling turn of events that transpired in Highlight Kingdom. She shares her growing suspicions about her father's peculiar behavior and the unusual lethargy afflicting the knights. Liliana elaborates on her journey, detailing her path that eventually led her to cross paths with Hajime and the others. In response, Hajime offers his assistance to Liliana, primarily driven by his sense of responsibility for Aiko's predicament. Furthermore, Hajime is driven by his curiosity to unveil the mysteries of the Age of Magic within the Divine Mountain. In another place, Aiko contemplates the cryptic mention of an irregular by the nun. Slowly, the pieces come together in her mind, revealing that the nun was referring to none other than Hajime himself. As this revelation strikes her, Hajime surprisingly emerges, coming to Aiko's rescue and thwarting her captors. After reuniting, Hajime goes on to offer Aiko a thorough account of how he successfully tracked her down, shedding light on his resourcefulness and determination. As their conversation deepens, Aiko expresses both apologies and gratitude for Hajime's rescue. Accepting her gratitude with grace, Hajime humbly declines her apology. Their discussion takes an abrupt turn as the sound of the capital's barrier being shattered reaches them. Hajime alerts Aiko to the impending demon attack and the invasion of Hyliai Kingdom. Urgently, he instructs Aiko to rendezvous with Amanagawa and the others, promising a conversation later. However, the urgency is intensified as both Hajime and Aiko are targeted by a disintegration attack. With swift reflexes, Hajime and Aiko evade the assault, revealing a new threat in the form of Noint. The encounter introduces Hajime to Noint amidst the chaos, as Liliana and her companions stroll through the corridors of Hyliai Kingdom. A sudden shattering of windows signals the breach of the protective barrier. Liliana swiftly comprehends the situation at hand. In response to this breach, Tio employs a device engineered by Hajime to relay critical information to Kari and the rest. The message unveils a dire reality. A substantial horde of demons and monsters amassing just 1 kilometer away from the capital. After a period of consideration, Yu and Shi decide to confront Fried as a form of retaliation for his harm inflicted upon Hajime. They head towards Tio, yet Hajime urgently redirects Tio's attention to Aiko's safety, enabling him to engage in battle unhindered. Concurrently, as Yu and Shi stand within the tower, Fried launches an attack. Through swift and skilled maneuvers, both Yu and Shi adeptly evade Fried's assault, showcasing their agility and quick reflexes. After a period of time, Yu and Shi confront Fried and his forces head-on. Engaged in a battle of exchange, their clashes yield no significant results. Recognizing this stalemate, Fried takes decisive action, ordering his right-hand man to engage with Shi, while he focuses on confronting Yu. Following further confrontation, Yu employs her spatial abilities, creating a portal. This action transports the right-hand man, a portion of his forces, and Shi to an alternate location, setting the stage for a separate showdown. Freed from Shi's presence, Fried and Yu now square off directly, intensifying the conflict. The right-hand man, driven by resentment, reveals to Shi that Cadlia, who she had slain, was his intended partner. Unmoved by his emotional disclosure, Shi maintains her cold demeanor and dismisses his attempt at eliciting sympathy, asserting her indifference to the tales of those she has killed. Frustrated by Shi's defiance, Fried's companion launches an attack against her. Despite employing various techniques, their efforts prove futile in inflicting harm upon Shi. Eventually, a stone needle manages to wound Shi, prompting her to swiftly employ her restoration magic for immediate recovery. Amidst the ongoing skirmish, Shi seizes the opportunity to overpower Fried's companion, hurling him a considerable distance. The impact proves fatal, resulting in his demise. This outcome underscores Shi's unwavering determination and combat prowess. Yu's resolute mission to avenge Hajime's injuries drives her to engage the demonic army on the ground. Despite an initial ineffective attack, she calls upon the 5 holy dragons, leading to the complete decimation of the enemy forces. Fried's rage intensifies as he witnesses this devastating outcome. He retaliates with a formidable Void Fissure attack, which surprisingly Yu survives. However, she sustains a wound from a horn on Fried's dragon. Utilizing reverse revival, Yu manages to escape the dire situation. Fried's oven past injury resurfaces, leaving him severely harmed. Taking advantage of the chaos, Fried flees the battlefield successfully. These events highlight both Yu's unwavering determination and the evolving dynamics of the battle. Hajime directly confronts Noint, demonstrating remarkable resilience despite carrying Aiko's weight. Hajime's attempts to provoke a response from Noint prove futile, as she unveils her emotionless nature. Despite this revelation, Noint proceeds to unleash the devastating Hellfire Tsunami against him. Incredibly, Hajime manages to endure the onslaught thanks to a prototype protective equipment that he is testing. This showcases Hajime's resourcefulness and ability to adapt even in the face of overwhelming odds. This leads to a conversation between Hajime and Noint. Inquisitive, Hajime queries Noint about her decision not to send him back to his world. Noint explains that It, a higher entity, has alternate intentions for Hajime. It desires for Hajime to perish before achieving his ultimate objective. As the discourse unfolds, Noint launches another attack. Just in the nick of time, Tao arrives in her formidable dragon form, utilizing her breath to deliver a forceful counterattack that sends Noint reeling. This sequence captures the tense encounter and the entry of a new player onto the battlefield. Subsequently, Hajime carefully moves Eiko to Tio's back, instructing them to depart from the scene. In a determined resolve, Hajime opts to remain behind and confront Noint in a final showdown. While Tio transports Eiko to safety, Eiko expresses her desire to assist Hajime. After some persuasion, Tio concedes and allows Eiko to aid in dealing with those who impede Hajime's progress. In a separate arena, Hajime and Noint engage in a fierce confrontation. Initially, their powers seem evenly matched as they exchange attacks. Despite their efforts, neither gains the upper hand. However, Hajime begins to notice a significant disparity. Noint's energy remains unyielding while he struggles to maintain his own. The tide shifts as Noint starts to overpower Hajime, expertly thwarting each of his attacks. Hajime's realization of Noint's seemingly boundless energy and his own waning strength accentuates the intensifying struggle between the two formidable opponents. Adding to Hajime's challenges, his limit break approaches its time constraint, pressuring him further. To counter this, Hajime summons additional equipment and detonates it, subjecting himself to the resulting blast in a strategic move aimed at weakening Noint. As the battle continues, Hajime discerns a vulnerability, a crack forming in Noint's sword. Swiftly capitalizing on this revelation, he shatters the weapon, leaving Noint defenseless. Fueled by determination, Hajime's frenzy intensifies, propelling him to unleash a formidable assault upon Noint. This culminates in Hajime's successful defeat of his adversary. Following this climactic victory, an explosion catches Hajime's attention nearby. Investigating, he discovers Eiko and Tio present at the scene, marking a pivotal juncture in the unfolding events. Hajime expresses admiration for Eiko's determination to remain on the battlefield. However, his attention shifts to the aftermath of an exploded church, a result of Tio's amplified dragon breath. Inquisitive, Hajime queries Eiko about her actions that led to Tio's breath being enhanced to such an extent that it caused the destructive explosion. During their conversation, Hajime deduces that Eiko employed fermentation acceleration to generate methane. As the discussion unfolds, a grim realization dawns on Eiko. The explosion likely claimed the lives of those inside the church. The unsettling truth dampens the atmosphere of their conversation. Soon after, Tio alerts them to an unusual and mysterious figure. Intrigued, Hajime decides to follow this enigmatic presence, eager to understand its possible meaning and destination. Progressing towards the enigmatic white figure, they are guided to a magical circle. Stepping onto it, Hajime and his companions find themselves transported to a cryptic realm, filled with mysteries yet to be unraveled. In this unfamiliar landscape, Hajime begins to explore, stumbling upon a book that unveils the essence of the divine mountain, a test to affirm an individual's unyielding determination against the influence of gods. Recognizing the significance, Hajime proposes reuniting with Yu and her companions. Meanwhile, hours earlier at the royal palace, Shizuku detects a distant shattering sound. She promptly conveys this discovery to Koki, initiating a chain of events. In the ensuing events, Shizuku and Koki assemble the group, emphasizing the necessity of understanding the unfolding situation. Amidst their deliberation, Nia intervenes, revealing the breach of the Great Barrier and the subsequent demonic invasion. In the midst of their strategizing, Eri joins them, advocating for seeking counsel from Mel before taking any action. The suggestion gains unanimous support. Proceeding accordingly, the heroes set out on their path. Along the way, Jose informs them of Meld's engagement in a vital task and directs them towards the central location, reinforcing the urgency of their mission. As the heroes progress toward the center, an unsettling feeling of suspicion begins to envelop them. This unease becomes palpable when Jose initiates a speech, wielding the Beacon of Light. In a shocking turn of events, the beacon's activation results in all the heroes, with the exception of Shizuku, being ruthlessly stabbed. Soon after, Nia urgently approaches Shizuku for assistance, yet her actions are anything but expected. She, too, plunges a blade into Shizuku, incapacitating her. Simultaneously, Eri unveils her orchestrations, revealing her calculated manipulation of the situation. Shizuku finds herself astounded by Eri's presence and the extent of her machinations. Stepping boldly onto the battlefield, Eri directs her focus toward Koki, declaring her possession of him. In the ensuing moments, Eri reveals to Shizuku the motivation behind her elaborate scheme, the sole purpose of securing an eternal existence alongside Koki within this realm. Eri discloses her manipulation of necromancy to imbue the animated soldiers with the ability to communicate through her unique necromantic spell, Spirit Binding. Furthermore, Eri admits her cunning deception of Suzu, cunningly masquerading as her trusted confidant to gain Suzu's trust. This revelation serves as a testament to Eri's strategic manipulation and the depth of her calculated actions. In a swift and treacherous sequence of events, Eri advances towards Shizuku, her intentions dark and calculated. Her plan involves employing the necromancy spell to manipulate Shizuku, with the sinister aim of using her as a tool to eliminate Kaori. Just as Eri is about to carry out her deadly scheme, a sudden interruption shatters the tense atmosphere. Kaori, accompanied by Liliana, arrives on the scene with an assertive presence, forcefully pushing back the impending threat. Hayami approaches from behind, Liliana's joyful reunion takes a harrowing twist as it becomes evident that Hayami too has fallen under the sway of the necromantic influence. In a shocking turn, Hayami incapacitates Liliana, casting her aside with a single blow. The unfolding nightmare intensifies as Hayami wields his sword, driving it mercilessly into Kaori's vulnerable back. Despite Kaori's resilient efforts to recover, Hayami's relentless aggression forces the blade even deeper, exacerbating the grave peril that has engulfed the scene. Cookie's fury drives him to break free from his collar lock and enter the fray, liberating his fellow heroes one by one. Despite their efforts, the heroes find themselves surrounded by soldiers, struggling to maintain their position. Undeterred, they fight valiantly, but as the odds stack against them, Koki resolves to confront Eri. Just as he moves in for an attack, Meld intervenes, thwarting Cookie's strike. Suddenly, Cookie's condition worsens, causing him to vomit blood due to the poison Eri implanted. Eri reveals the poison's less-than-lethal effects and shifts her focus to Kaori, intending to kill her and revive her using the necromancy spell. Just in the nick of time, Hajime intervenes to thwart Eri's schemes. His actions are quick and decisive as he incapacitates Hayami, directing Tao and Aiko to provide care for Kaori's injuries. Taking firm control, Hajime assumes command of the unfolding events. Despite Eri's efforts to negotiate her way out of the predicament, Hajime remains steadfast in his resolve to confront her. A daring maneuver by Eri commands Meld to eliminate Hajime, yet Hajime's rapid response leads to Meld's swift and fatal downfall. Undeterred, Hajime's unwavering determination drives him to draw his machine gun, dispatching the surrounding soldiers with remarkable swiftness and precision. As Eri's location is approached, Hayami launches a futile attack on Hajime, only to be effortlessly thrown out of the church. In the midst of the chaos, Freed also appears at the palace and demands Hajime's surrender, emphasizing the massive horde of monsters surrounding them. Unperturbed, Hajime counters by summoning a mighty laser from the sky, unleashing a destructive show of power that annihilates the entire swarm of demons and monsters. The resulting devastation forms a perfect circle around the palace, showcasing Hajime's overwhelming strength and determination. Furthermore, Hajime confronts Freed and issues a stern warning, threatening to unleash the same devastating force upon him if he doesn't leave immediately. Freed's fury ignites, and he vehemently vows vengeance against Hajime, shouting his determination to make him pay. Seizing the distraction, Eri seizes the opportunity to escape with Freed from the battlefield once more. Meanwhile, Hajime makes arrangements for the others, directing them to take Kaori to a safer location atop the mountain for her injuries to be tended to. Amidst the chaos, Hajime notices Shizuku's distress and approaches her, providing comfort and reassurance. He assures Shizuku that Kaori will recover, offering words of solace that manage to alleviate some of her anxieties. The following day, Liliana peruses through the documents and learns the detailed account of the events that transpired at the royal palace. As she reads, Liliana discovers that the king met his demise at the hands of the enigmatic nun, who also managed to capture Aiko before vanishing without a trace. Meanwhile, Hajime ascends the mountain's peak to inquire about Kaori's condition. There he is met by Yu and the others, who provide him with the reassuring news that Kaori is on the path to recovery. Subsequently, Hajime approaches Aiko, engaging in a conversation about the recent tumultuous events. Delving deeper, Hajime inquires whether Aiko feels remorse for obliterating the church and the lives within it. Aiko candidly responds that she does not harbor regrets. In a poignant moment, Hajime imparts a heartfelt request to Aiko, encouraging her to bear the weight of her actions and to allow herself to feel regret, as it is an essential aspect of their humanity. He turns his back to her, extending an empathetic offer for her to release her pent-up emotions and cry to her heart's content. Meanwhile, Koki finishes his training session with Shizuku, only to be joined by Liliana. They engage in a discussion regarding the recent harrowing events and the painful losses they have endured. Amidst their conversation, Koki expresses his skepticism and lack of trust towards Hajime, expressing a hope that Shizuku does not associate with him. In the midst of this exchange, Liliana detects a figure descending from the sky. To their surprise, is Hajime and his group arriving, skillfully landing on the ground. Shizuku is overjoyed by their presence, although she notices that Kaori is absent. Hajime assures her that Kaori will be joining them shortly. Just then, Kaori descends from the sky and crash lands, prompting Kuki's group to assume a defensive stance. However, they soon realize that Kaori has undergone a noticeable change in appearance. Shizuku, recognizing Kaori, rushes to her side and embraces her with tears of relief. Hajime proceeds to detail the method they employing magic to retrieve Kaori's soul and graft it into Noin's restored body. The conversation deepens, with Yu explaining the preservation of Kaori's original body in a frozen state, granting her the ability to revert at her discretion. In the midst of the discussion, Shizuku steps forward to express her gratitude to Hajime and his companions for their invaluable assistance. As time passes, Hajime unveils a revelation. Their roles were unwittingly manipulated by higher powers, mere pawns in a grander cosmic design. This revelation adds a sense of urgency as Hajime hints at his impending departure. The group absorbs these revelations, fostering a mix of emotions and understanding among them. During their dinner gathering, Shizuku directs a query to Hajime, inquiring about his intended destination. Hajime reveals his plan to venture into the Great Labyrinth, prompting a deeper discussion. As conversation flows, each of Hajime's former classmates voices a desire to join him on this quest, aiming to acquire the elusive god's age magic for themselves. Initially cautious, Hajime eventually consents to their participation, granting permission for them to accompany him. However, astute Yu discerns Hajime's ulterior motive, an intention to employ them as a shield and decoy for potential dangers. In the midst of these deliberations, a light-hearted yet somewhat awkward atmosphere prevails as the ladies once more express their fondness for Hajime. Playfully vying for his attention, they offer morsels of food from their plates to him. Amidst this spectacle, Shizuku can hardly conceal her unease, evident in her discomforting response to the flirtatious display taking place before her. As time passes, a peculiar situation arises when Tayo playfully asks Hajime for a reward, requesting him to give her a firm spank for safeguarding Eiko. Following the dinner, Yu awakens to discover Hajime absent from their bed. She finds him on the terrace, where Hajime shares his plans with Yu. After the events of the day conclude, they intend to retrieve Miu. With preparations complete, the group assembles, ready to embark on their journey to the formidable Great Labyrinth.